So How to Train Your Dragon 2025 is a fantasy adventure live action remake of the incredibly popular animated original movie. And to my surprise, this movie did not make $1 billion in the box office, unlike the very recently released Lilo and Stitch, which I don't think is as good as How to Train Your Dragon. As it's a really fun, emotional, and impressive movie, it's just a bit of a shame that they didn't really do anything different to the original animated film. I mean, it didn't need to be a radical departure. They just could have just inserted a couple more scenes, done a little few things differently. Although I guess you could make the argument that the first installment of a trilogy should pretty much stay true to the source material, and then in the future installments you can then make a few pivots, which I guess is what the Lion King live action movie did do. However, for me, I would have just loved it if they would have just done one or two things a little bit differently. For example, like how James Gunn did with his Superman reboot. I mean, they didn't need to change the core fabric of the movie, which I do feel like Lilo and Stitch did do, and you can check out my live action harsh review. I'll link that video in the description box below. As in that film, they just changed way too many things, and to the point where they just literally pulled the soul out of that film. So, you know, in How to Train Your Dragon's defense, it is a hard balance to get right. As I guess some of the core fans would have argued so much that they strayed away from the source material if they would have gone down that road. And also, to this movie's defense, they did actually make it really, really fun in terms of bringing everything into live action. For example, the dragons all looked really, really impressive. I feel like the island of Berk looked really, really cool. I absolutely loved all of the flight sequences on the dragon with Toothless and Hiccup. I mean, they looked wicked in the animated movies, and in the live action one, they just literally took it to a whole new level. The opening battle, I feel like, looked really, really terrifying. You can see that the Vikings are just fighting for their lives against these dragons. I feel like all of the training sequences with the dragons, they also looked really, really funny and also really, really terrifying at the same time. So even though everything is pretty much set on this island of Berk, along with the dragon's nest as well, it did look really, really grandiose. And it does make you want to visit the island of Berk, and I feel like it's perfect timing with the launch of Epic Universe, as you can actually visit Berk in that theme park. So I feel like the link with that was just so smart. And I always feel like animated movies are really, really good because you can really connect with the characters, and I feel like that is taken to a whole new level again with this one. And it's really, really brilliant in terms of the time that we're living, that you can make dragons look really, really well from a VFX point of view. And the thing that I've always loved about the dragons in How to Train Your Dragon is that all of them are pretty individual, and I feel like they were able to bring out all of the unique aspects of each individual dragon family in a really cool way. So let's go through the main lead actors in this movie. So I feel like Mason Thames has true star quality, and he has got a lot of presence when he's on screen. I feel like he's got a bit more learning to do from his acting range perspective, but he does lead the movie relatively well. You can just immediately tell that he's got such an exciting career ahead of him, as I'm sure very soon he will have leading star energy in a load of different projects. The thing that I didn't find believable in this movie is believing him to be awkward Hiccup, as I feel like that scene where he's just trying to muster up the courage to speak to Astrid, you just could not believe it, as I'm sure in real life Mason Thames has no issue with this whatsoever, and I just feel like he wasn't able to bring that geeky, awkward side of Hiccup out. I know people had very similar arguments with Andrew Garfield and Peter Parker, but I feel like Andrew was able to bring a different edgy spin to Peter Parker, and it was different reasons for why he was excluded. He wasn't necessarily the nerdy geek, and I just wish that they would have gone down a very different angle if they are trying to say that a person like Mason Thames' Hiccup isn't able to fit into society. But that being said, as the movie was progressing, he was definitely improving as well, and I just loved his sequences with Toothless. I feel like they definitely made the movie, and that really is the heart and soul of the film. And so from that perspective, I feel like Mason Thames was able to redeem himself and really lead this movie quite well. I absolutely love Gerard Butler as the Chief. I also love the fact that he is reprising this role from the animated movie, very similar to Dwayne Johnson reprising his role from the animated Moana movie into live action. And I think all of his speeches are really, really brilliant. Firstly, when he's trying to motivate all of the Vikings from across the world, and also when he's trying to be comedic in his speeches, being like, look, Hiccup was a surprise to us all that he is actually going to win in this dragon tournament. I feel like his line delivery for all of those are really, really funny. And I love how all of the characters, Chief and Hiccup in particular, were able to learn and appreciate one another and grow across this movie, as he had a very clear vision for his son, and he was thinking that his son is following that vision. And even though it was a bit of a struggle for him to appreciate the different qualities that Hiccup is able to bring to society, to dragons, and able to help and improve and grow his mind. I just absolutely loved it. As you can tell, he's resistant to it. He's a very arrogant guy, and his model of the world is his model of the world, but I'm really impressed with him that by the end of this movie, he is able to completely 180 that, and then when he is able to do so, then he is able to allow Hiccup and Toothless to finally save the day. And I think it's really interesting social commentary in terms of these two groups, the dragons and the humans, are kind of at loggerheads for so many years and centuries, and understandably because of that, they're going to grow and harbour the hatred for one another, and so understandably they're going to do things that are going to frustrate the other group. So it was interesting to find somewhat of a common enemy between these two groups, and then by the end of this movie they're able to be in harmony. I thought Nico Parker was really good as Astrid. I do think it was a bit of a radical change from her to be a really strong, ambitious character that is almost going to get the top new Viking chief position, to suddenly then being willing and happy to be the love interest character. I do hope that they do something with this in the future, as it was a shame that they set this character up in such a good way and then suddenly just changed it and didn't really do anything with it. I absolutely loved Mason Thames and Nico Parker across the press tour, as they were totally giving Tom Holland and Zendaya energy, and I feel like all of those interviews were just so brilliant as a result. It's such a shame that all of the other supporting characters, especially the other young Viking characters, were just so poor, as the characters were just so one-dimensional, and I just feel like the writing and the acting and the sequences just could have all been improved to really elevate these characters, as they were just so boring. So, you know, overall I really enjoyed the new live action remake of How to Train Your Dragon. It's such a fun movie, such an exhilarating journey, and I just loved escaping into the world of Berk and just experiencing everything once again in a new live action format. I just wish they would have changed one or two things to make it a bit of a new experience, but regardless, it's such a fun time at the movies, and so for all of those reasons, I'm going to give this film a solid 7 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear from you. What did you think of How to Train Your Dragon, the live action remake? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.